And the PX minutes. Do I have a seconder? Mike Davidson put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Now we move on to the monthly report from the community boards, and there is one monthly report this time, and as it will be in the future, and I'll invite each of the community boards to come up one after the other for their presentation, and then the report will be moved and seconded as a whole. So could I invite Alexandra Davids, and I don't know if you have Michelle with you, no, Grace, from the Waikura Linwood-Central-Heathcote Community Board. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and yes, I have my amazing clicker Arahanui with me again today, so thank you. Kia ora everyone. So the board have been super busy again since last time we met. We have obviously had the approval of the landscape plan for the construction of the Sumner Skate Park and the adoption of the Greening of the East Development Plan. We're really proud to have given the tick to both of these projects, as they are board priorities in our community board plan. The community are really excited, especially with the construction of the skate park. I had Facebook memories come up from over 6 years ago the other day. And that's when we had our massive community meeting where we basically said we were going to do it, but now we're doing it, so it's a really positive thing for that community. We have had several public forums. We had Mr. Selwyn Eagle representing the Just Dirt Trust. I believe he's been around a couple of the community boards, and he was updating us on all of the valuable work that the trust are doing within our communities. We also had Miss Colleen Phillip, who is a local resident. She updated the board on the refurbished bird aviary on Woodham Park and discussed with the board a proposed project to make Woodham Park a place for people to connect. The board will visit Woodham Park to consider how Ms Phillips' idea might be progressed. Linwood North is an area that hasn't attracted as much community board attention as we might have liked, so this is a good opportunity for us to start reaching into that community a bit more. On Sunday we had our Lancaster Park site visit. The visit to view the work on the park was really successful, and we just want to say a massive thank you to staff and the contractor who facilitated it. Seeing the situation on the ground gave us all a much better understanding of the challenges facing the team, especially the process of preparing the site, which has so much deconstruction work to do before they can even start the construction. And it's a massive site, and you can only appreciate the enormity of the work ahead when being there. And it will be an amazing green space for the area, which is currently described by that community as a total concrete jungle. So it'll be really great for that community. On to innovating streets. We've all talked about it quite a lot because it's a very fantastic project, but we're delighted with the new Innovating Streets cycleway in Ferry Road, and the ongoing feedback is providing opportunity for minor alterations to take place as well, but this is something that has been looked at nationally as a project that is something that we can be proud of as a city, so well done everyone. We've had a bunch of community events as usual. We had the Fresh Central Hoops event. It was a great afternoon. It was on the 21st of April at the Youth Hub in the centre of town. This was a collaborative effort with YCD and Gapfiller and attracted a good crowd of young people and their families. And once again, we had free haircuts. I swear everybody in our ward are going to be the freshest looking people with all of the free haircuts we give out. And we also had a graffiti workshop, which was actually a really big hit. But yeah, an awesome afternoon. And then moving on to our Youth Week. So we had the Fresh Life event on Saturday night, and we want to say a massive thanks again to YCD and to the management team of Eastgate Mall, who entrusted the southern wing of the mall to upwards of 350 young people on Saturday night. A whole range of entertainment was available, and Linwood young people definitely voted with their feet on this one, and this is what kicked off our Youth Week. So it was awesome. We had food, drink, haircuts again, we had braiding, we had activity rooms, and we literally had toddlers through to teenagers and parents. So yeah, it was a really awesome community event. We have some things coming up for our ward, obviously, but we have our closing event for Youth Week, which is a ball which is going to be held at Woolston Club this Friday night. So everybody's really looking forward to that. And we also have our Bromley traffic meeting coming up. So these meetings are obviously really good to get the community together. We'll be holding the meeting on the 24th of May at the Bromley Community Centre to enable community members to give feedback on the range of transport and related projects programmed for the area, and to discuss opportunities for addressing issues and concerns through this activity. So this has been something that has been delayed due to COVID and many other things, but we're finally able to get that underway. So we're looking forward to meeting with the community. There's just one last thing I would like to bring up, and that is just around the flooding on Richardson Terrace. It's something that the board has had the public come and discuss with us quite often and frequently, and has been an issue for many years. While we have works planned for the future, we still have several years of young children having to walk through very flooded streets to get to school, and the board just wanted to bring it to the attention of the council that we would love to have a temporary plan in place in order for it to be safe for our tamariki. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just on that matter, the Chief Executive is going to follow that up with staff to see whether there could be a joint approach with the community board and staff to actually look at that specific problem, and if it requires any council input, which I hope that it can be resolved locally, then that can happen in due course. So, but thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the support.
Very good. Are there any quick questions? Because I'll... No? Thank you very much.
Cool.
Oh. No, we're not. We're not. It's a new era. It's a new day. And now I'll invite Emma Norrish and Simon Britton, Chair and Deputy Chair of Waipapa Papanui Innis Community Board, to come forward.
Kia ora koutou, thank you for having us here today.
Glorious photograph.
It's an amazing building, and that photo just, and even just the autumn colours on the trees, it's fabulous. And Simon's going to talk a bit more about that now.
I am. So, thank you to those who attended on the 10th of April, early last month. Just acknowledge the Mayor and Chief Executive for attending, as well as other elected members, and of course all of the local community for the opening of Kohinga, the St Albans Community Centre. So we had a few more photos there. So we cut a ribbon, we planted a tree, we cut a cake, we had a blessing of the building, we had the Kapa Haka group, we had the speeches. I think we pretty much achieved everything on the list of things that you do to recognise such a significant event, and so long in the making in terms of the time it's taken to get to this point since the earthquakes and the whole story of the site and the impact on the community since then. So it was there's a Newsline story about this as well that captures a little bit more of that story. So thanks to those who attended, and please do check it out if you haven't done so already.
The problem with the slides, I think we did have some more pictures that haven't shown up.
Oh.
They're showing on our screen, but not up there.
Oh.
They are.
Anyway, I'll carry on. The next slide was going to be about a new social enterprise that's really exciting. It's happening in Shirley. There's an outfit called Nourish Oraka, and it's supplying 325 healthy school lunches to Shirley Primary School as part of the government's free lunch in schools program. It was set up by 2 locals who saw the opportunity for the wider community with the support of the Shirley Village project. They saw it as opportunities for local parents to work locally and within school hours, which are 2 barriers to a lot of parents being able to find work. There's 10 people employed so far. They're using a premises in the Atchison Avenue shops, which is helping to activate this less than vibrant commercial area. They've got a focus on sustainability. They deliver the lunches by bike trailer. They're using reusable lunch boxes. They are composting waste at local community gardens, and they have a view to eventually using all locally grown produce. And obviously any profits, being a social enterprise, will be used for community development. So it's really exciting to see that happening, and we'll do what we can to help them out.
Slides are up now. So we recently had the Christchurch Walking Festival, which is a city-wide event. In our board area, we went on a bear hunt, which is a regular feature of the festival. We had 500 children and parents participate in that. In Mariho, that was organised by, or in collaboration with the Shirley Community Trust. Also in our board area at the north end, with Otu Kaikino Creek and wetlands, there was a couple of walking events there as well within our board area. So yeah, thanks to everybody who participated in those.
We had board members attend 2 ANZAC services held in our area. First up there was the Belfast service at the Cenotaph in Sheldon Park, and then the Papanui RSA's parade and service in Papanui. It was a good turnout at both events, and I certainly got the feeling at both of those services that people had really missed being able to get together to remember last year, and so made extra effort this year. So it was great to see.
Last week, the Waipapa Papanuianis Board, as well as the Waitai Coastal Burwood Board, had a site visit along the Styx River. It was a guided tour of parts of the river and some of the reserves along there, Pūhara Kekanui. Looking at progress with plantings and regeneration, a really interesting takeaway from that for me was the area that is now planted along that river. There's more native bush in that area, more area and also more diversity of native bush than we've had in Christchurch, even in the mid-1800s when both Riccarton and Papanui bush were still standing. The area we've got today is larger than that. And in particular, these photos are both taken at what's now named Te Wāku Kahikatea. It formerly was the Styx River Reserve No. 2. It's just recently been through a renaming process. There are trees in there that were planted 9 years ago. You can now walk under the canopy of those trees. So yeah, thanks to the Styx River Living Laboratory Trust and the others that assisted in taking us around and showing us some of those places. It was a really good morning.
And then finally, just a couple of updates on the issues arising from the Christchurch Northern Corridor. With the noise concerns in Redwood, this is continuing to be worked on by the local MP, Duncan Webb, with Waka Kotahi. He received a response, which council will no doubt receive sometime soon as well. And that claimed that noise levels are not excessive, however more sound monitoring is being done over a full 24-hour period as requested by residents. And they also said that they cannot legally lower a speed limit for reasons other than road safety in the short term, and permanent changes are a much longer process. So we'll deal with that once council gets the response as well, I believe. Then on downstream issues from the motorway, staff are continuing to monitor vehicle numbers travelling through St Albans. There is a dedicated email address for residents to report any issues or any ideas they've got or anything like that. As a result of the traffic calming trials which have been held in Francis Ave and the impacts that those had on the surrounding streets, the decision was made by the board and staff to take a step back from trialling any solutions on individual streets and develop a plan for the wider area. This will include a lot more further engagement with the local community, and we had a meeting last week with board members and staff and some Flockton Ave residents, and that was really positive, looking at how we can move forward and mitigate the effects that they're feeling on that street. Any questions?
Good, thank you. Any questions for Emma or Simon?
There are some good ones here.
Let's just quickly
We
jump
go
back.
back to the
We
second
missed
one.
those ones.
Oh, there you go. Pauline's the one I would want too. That was awesome. I was just simply going to mention that I've been to an event there since the opening, and it was for the launch of the Sakina Community Trust, a woman-led community organisation focused on community healing and recovery post March 15. And it was an excellent event, and the environment was amazing. So it's a treasure. It really is. So yeah, well done, Pauline.
Can I just add to that the feedback from the people who are manning the reception area from day one.
Staffing do not need to be gender
Peopling,
neutral.
the people who are peopling it have just from day one it just went off. People are pouring through the doors,
Yeah.
and the bookings are soaring through the roof. So it's taken off with a whoosh and a roar, and it makes you wonder where the people were before that was there. So it's really successful, and I just can't thank our council for and everyone around the table here for supporting the rebuild of that centre for the community. It's very well valued, so it's exciting. Thanks.
Well, I've got it in my report too, but I'll just mention it here in your report that you know the use of wood in terms of carbon emissions are just outstanding. So I mean, just in terms of a model of building a community centre, it really is incredible. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have the Waihoro Spread and Cashmere Community Board, and we've got Carolyn Potter. Not sure if Lee's here today. No. So thank you.
Kia ora tātou. Just before I start on the words and the pictures, we had our garden show last night. It was wonderful. We had huge numbers of people. The connection with the community is just terrific. We introduced 10-year, 20-year and 30-year prizes this year for people who had participated. The 30-year prize went to a couple who have been married and gardening for 72 years in reality, and everybody was thrilled to meet with them. And we also had a garden show, a garden award for a 98-year-old man who had just died, and and his family were there, and it turned out he was the youngest and last living son of Ernest Adams. And he was incredibly handsome in his 90s. He was an amazing looking man. We had a terrific time. And last week, which isn't in our report but will be in the next one, we had a breakfast with local MPs who don't hold back actually when they talk to us, and there's a couple of issues that I've already raised with people around the table here to see if I can get further information. But starting with up there, we had, as usual, we had a lot of people come to public forum. It's the best thing the council's done in years introducing this. And a resident spoke about the impact of new high-density developments in communities. And I'm really interested in the nuances of this, because residents don't complain about high, intensive housing next door to them that is low profile. And they don't complain about that. They complain about things that look like Addington Prison. There were people from 110 Shalimar Drive, which used to be a vineyard, a long-standing vineyard owned by very generous people who always contributed wine to community events. and these residents of the property noted that they'd like the council's going to probably sell it, but they wanted the council to retain it. We had people from Valley Road asking about the walking track off Valley Road. We had traffic safety in schools, which is a constant topic. I think all the boards would have that in common. And we had young people talking about basketball, which I have mentioned before, and basketball, as we all know, is the fastest rising sport and has overtaken rugby in its importance to young people. We also had a site visit as well. I should mention this. The staff had a site visit with staff about potential sites for a half court in our area. We had public forum again about wilding trees and Purehour Reserve. The person who came and saw us about Purehour Reserve is so enthusiastic, and she's done so much work. It's absolutely inspiring, the work that she's put in. And our hard-working urban park ranger has been involved with her as well. We had a report about Fibre connection in particular from Huntsbury. We had several residents come from Huntsbury, probably at least it felt like a dozen, at least a dozen, who came to see us about the lack of connection in the Huntsbury neighbourhood. And you can see the gap between the rest of Huntsbury and them at the top of the hill, and that is the gap that Enable talks about being impossible to surmount without them funding the fibre connection. In terms of principle, not money, it is strange that people in our wards cannot get fibre connection without paying money when I got it for absolutely free. And I wonder if we're valuing information and the freedom of access to information and freedom of expression, one of the fundamental human rights here, in terms, because I think technology's got us a little bit stumped about access to freedom of information and freedom of expression. And I'm not sure that the council and the rest of us shouldn't be discussing how we get these people and others like them within the city boundaries, how we get them what we have taken for granted. And it just seems that there is a lack of justice there. And we approved a grant to the Akaroa River Network, which is a relatively new organisation. It celebrated 10 years last year. And they have been of major importance in our community and other communities in connecting the river to the community, the river to young people in particular, the river to all the agencies that have been involved with the river all the way to the estuary under one roof. And they have led in the most intelligent and democratic way changes all the way along the river. And we have been closely aligned with them right since their beginning. And we gave a grant to the Summerfield Community Centre towards Power Meter project, which sounds pretty weird, but it's about a long-term tenant and them being able to assess fairly the power that they each use. That's the fibre connection. Here we're discussing the fibre connection again. And I'd really like us all to think about those, the issues that have been raised by them. The Friends of Farnley Reserve, that's another new group looking after a very small area which was beautifully designed behind the Centaurus Road shops. And it was beautifully designed when it was established. And here it is again with a group of local people in the community restoring it to its former glory. And those are eels and things. They're running across that concrete. You can't quite see them in this picture, but there's engravings of eels and river life in that picture there. This is the board member, a very important board member, and friends in our community. That's Evelyn Keneally, who runs the Rowley House, Rowley Resource Centre. And who's between us? Teresa, I couldn't remember her name. I was going to say Pearl for some reason. And the wonderful councillor for the area. And you can't see it, but there were 350 people there. And MPs from Wellington, ministers from Wellington, local dignitaries, including our mayor, amazing numbers of people. When I first got the invitation, I replied, yes, I'd be honoured to come. What can I bring? I had no idea it was about 350 people. I thought it was about 8 of us in the local community meeting in a house on Hoonhay Road. At Addington School's request, we invited Waka Kotahi to brief us on the Brougham Street project. I've mentioned that before to you as well. This is the Brougham Street, Waka Kotahi has been very forthcoming in talking to us about this project, and we'd like to thank them for that. They have been listening to the local community and to the board on the issues that have been raised by Brougham Street, which are, of course, as the people in the northern suburbs would know, absolutely unending when we're discussing the motorway. Absolutely unending. And it's an incredibly difficult issue to discuss. That has been made even more difficult by our lack of any understanding of the plan for the future of traffic and transport in Christchurch. And so we'd hope that we would be able to get underway on understanding how Christchurch itself sees traffic in the future and how we shift freight. But we hope to come back to the public later this year to get feedback on the ideas and designs that Waka Kotahi and the City Council are working on for the stretch of Brougham Street in our ward and in our neighbours in Linwood Central too. Coming up, we have a combined board discussion. ANZAC Day. Our board instituted an ANZAC Day at Waltham Gates when we still had Waltham in our area, and then later we moved it to the Sydenham Cemetery. And we have our celebration here quietly with community in the grave, in front of the grave of 2 brothers who clearly got home safely but died in the epidemic in 1918. Almost on the day of the armistice. We also give a wreath at the formal RSA celebration up at the Regimental Park up at Victoria Park, and that's a more formal one with formal associations with it, including the singing of the national anthem. This one is much more about family, descendants, the sacrifice of war made by everyone, not just the soldiers who go, and it means a lot to the community, and so does the one on the hill, albeit in a different way. And you're dead right about the gathering of people. It's very important. Coming up, we have a combined meeting with our neighbours, Linwood Central, and to discuss what we're discussing? CRAF project, which is the Green Spine, transport and a central hub in our areas. Most of the work is going to be being done in our neighbourhood in Linwood and Central, and we will only be a minority of the work. But if the rep review goes ahead, they'll be incorporated into the new wards that will be Waipuna. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Tim?
It's just that the photos for Brougham Street look like an advertising thing, because the crossing there where the kids were going across, quite often trucks and cars are parked right across the crossing, and you can imagine the angst of parents and the school and the kids trying to zigzag and manoeuvre past those trucks, etc. So that is actually, I think, staged, but we won't go any further on that.
It doesn't show the cage. The cage that the residents have to stand in to keep themselves safe.
Yeah, so it's actually like an advertising thing for cars, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, look, thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Tyrone Fields, Te Pātaka o Rākai Houtu, Banks Peninsula Community Board. And apologies from Tori Peeting today. Thank you.
Kia ora tātou. So I'm obviously subbing in for Tori today. So Pen, what have we got? So, we've got a Part A, of course, which is Ardles Road and Devotials, which I understand is coming back to Council for consideration. That went through Community Board pretty easily, because, I guess we understand that there's a lot of properties of that nature on the peninsula that sort of have some trickiness around boundaries. So hopefully, our board supports that. The staff recommendation. So onto our presentation. So we'll start off with a feel good. So we often get visited, as most boards do, by schools in our area. Governor's Bay School have come to see us a few times recently, and we always absolutely love having them there. This time they've come to talk to us about the Hilda Frame Reserve. Now, Hilda Frame was a resident of Governor's Bay who passed away in 1981 at the age of 80, and she fostered over 100 children over the course of her life, which is a lot. And so Governor's Bay has a very strong history of child welfare and looking after children. So she's in that tradition. So the reason the school came to see us was because they would like to formalise a reserve, or the naming of a reserve in the Governor's Bay area that's opposite their school, which is informally known as the Hilda Frame Reserve. So they're looking to get some proper signage up there. It's one of those things that, it should seem pretty straightforward. Get some signs up, acknowledge, a wonderful resident of Governor's Bay in the past. So they're looking for some funding to do that, and probably apply for a heritage grant. On to the next thing, Pen. So Red House Bay Reserve, Takapuniki. So first of all, I'd really like to acknowledge how grateful our board is to this council for approving the funding to purchase the house, the Red House at Takapuniki. It's an incredibly important historic site, not just for the city but for the country, and obviously for mana whenua from Onuku Marae. So at our meeting on the 3rd of May, the board has started the process to vest the Red House as a historic reserve in line with the Takapuniki Reserve Management Plan 5.16.5, which just for plan nerds out there. So we've started that process, and we'd really like to see that go through as easily and as quickly as possible. So discussions that I've had with Onuku, talked to Riki Tainui, who's the representative on Papatipurunga for Ngāi Tahu, and he has just said that it means so much to the people there, and so we're really delighted that the entire council and community board and community could come together and make that happen. Akaroa Water. So the poor old people of Akaroa have had a bit of an interesting time with water of late, right from their reservoir that's had some visitors of late floating around in it, all the way through to their pipes, which are in various stages of repair, all the way through to wastewater. And again, we're very, very grateful for this council to continue supporting the Akaroa wastewater project. So they had a meeting attended by 47 people back in 29th of April. Now, 47 people in terms of per head of population for Akaroa is the equivalent of having, probably enough people to fill a stadium in the flatlands in Christchurch. So it's very well attended. Their main issue were when are level 4 restrictions going to be lifted. So that's a real concern for the people of Akaroa. And also, our councillor Andrew Turner got involved in some discussions around, let's make Akaroa the first place in New Zealand to install purple pipes. So that's with, recycled water and that sort of stuff. So, there's an opportunity for Akaroa and Christchurch to lead the way in there and be an exemplar location to do something special there with the way we work with water. And that's probably us. Oh, and then, there's a whole lot of bits and pieces of what we've been up to. A lot, like all boards are up to a lot, in terms of, just to reiterate what Carolyn said, public forums. That's a wonderful way to hear the voice of our community. We absolutely love people coming to see us, about local issues. Probably the key thing I just want to pick out from there is the representation review. So obviously our board's made a submission on that. We do have some special arrangements, and we'd very strongly like to see those retained. Obviously the peninsula is an area of special interest with a lot of special communities. It's very isolated, and obviously we have a very strong relationship with mana whenua, with our four marae out on the peninsula. So that's probably the key thing there. And obviously, and we had very well attended 4 ANZAC Day services on ANZAC Day, and that went very smoothly. That's probably me.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Look, thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Waitai Coastal Bird Community Board, Kelly Barber. Kia ora, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I'm joined again by Christopher Turner, Governance Manager, with fantastic glasses.
Thanks.
I paid $2 for these, $4 for these at a $2 shop, so I know what's going on there. Very exclusive suit, thank you, from a very exclusive German tailor, Mr. Hallenstein. Hallensteins, for those of you that anyway, moving along with the business at hand. So, we've had a busy time. Happy to report on a number of positive, good progress in 2 wards of Coastal and Bird. Approval of the installation of some new lights in Thompson Park, which will make a bit of a difference for practicing teams. Also, the DRF fund has been spent wisely on the resurfacing of a 3rd court for the Burwood Tennis Club, very active club in our community. Also, we provided some funding for the New Brighton Community Gardens Trust for mentoring and equipment. I don't know whether any of you have ever been down there, but they run a wonderful organisation. Is there anything more therapeutic than spending a bit of time in the garden? And I think that some of the work they do with people there is really good for our community. Moving right along. So another expense from our DRF fund has gone to the reinstatement of the ANZAC fronds and the approval of a concept design. We're really pleased to support this. For those of you that don't remember, these fronds used to be on the ANZAC Bridge, which was the newest road bridge over the Avon in our 2 wards. And they were taken off after the earthquake. They were stored. The community has been very interested in seeing them come back. They were really quite a unique sculpture. So that's about to happen. So we're just going through the process of making that happen. Another positive thing that I wanted to bring to your attention was we recently approved in Rauwhiti Domain the sort of natural play area landscape plan. So they're going to take down the old playground that was there and build a fantastic new kind of natural play facility, which would probably not be unlike being in a bit of a forest with a fort and those sorts of things that expand people's imagination. So, some other things, community funding. The board's received 72 applications for to the Strengthening Communities Fund. That's a lot. That's the most across the city. I guess it reflects our community. It's very, very active. There are a lot of people doing a lot of things, and at the end of the day, this is what we want. And the more we can encourage these groups, the better. Upcoming, there's an event capacity workshop which happened on 19th of May. Am I ahead of myself or no, behind myself? There. So it's coming up on the 19th of May. Engagement and consultation, obviously you're all aware of all the consultations that have been going on. It's been a busy time for everybody, but we've been working our way through that. So we had a meeting in Parklands community recently. There was a little bit of concern about a small group of young individuals who were causing a bit of chaos in the area, as young people do. One of the locals, Grant Donnell, was concerned about it. He put together an idea for a meeting, which he came to us, which was really well supported. We had 130 people at the first meeting, where community expressed their concerns about what was going on. As always, it comes down to a second meeting, you know, when people are asked to front up and decide what they're going to do about it. And at this second meeting, there were 31 people, fairly representative of a lot of the groups in the area, the bowling club, the rugby club, the Residents Association, and some of the churches. And it was actually, it was really good and really positive. One of the great things about this whole event was the fact that Chris Meeti was facilitating. And I highly recommend that if you ever have a situation like this, that getting an expert like Chris Meeti in to facilitate can turn things that could be just a rant or a negative into some action and some positive results. And, you know, I really think this is the way forward. I was unable to go to the first meeting, but the second meeting was really good. We came away with a group that are actually going to sit down and look at some things that we can do. And one of the other great aspects was bringing all the people together in these groups who actually just did a bit of sharing about what they do. And I remember in particular, it was the Pukeko Centre talked about their plans for the area and felt that perhaps they could have you know, sort of enunciated that a little clearer to some of the other groups that weren't aware of some of the things that they were doing for the future and for youth. So, yeah, all in all, a negative turned into quite a positive in the end. So, ANZAC Day Service, obviously there was a little bit of information about this in the media. We had 3 services in our area, one informal, a couple of formal ones. I myself attended the New Brighton RSA formal one in New Brighton. Brilliant speakers, they spoke really well. It was a great occasion. I think we paid great respect to you know, to our sort of ANZAC, I guess, legacy. And I think it was a really, really positive event. I mean, obviously there was we can always do things a little better, and we perhaps dropped the ball on a couple of small things. But overall, I think it was really a really positive experience. I enjoyed it, and I know plenty of other people did too. I spent a bit of time at the RSA afterwards, and I didn't hear any complaints. I think most people were quite happy. It was an interesting occasion when 2 microlights came over and were very loud. They were obviously having a bit of a look from just above, but yeah, sort of drowned everyone out for a few minutes while they buzzed around. Freedom of the skies. So a few other things have been going on. Obviously the walking festival in 2021 on during the school holidays. 11 walks were held in the coastal Burwood area. And probably the one that was most popular was the popular Gruffalo Explorers Walk through Bottle Lake Plantation, which had 2,500 people attend, which is outrageous when you think about it. Yeah, good numbers. And also Have a Go disc golf session at QE2 Park. Don't know whether you guys know much about disc golf, but it is an incredibly popular pastime. There's a few courses, particularly in our part of town, and you just about always see people there throwing discs around. I don't know whether you've ever been to Queenstown. They've got one there, and it's always really well attended. It's golf with frisbees, essentially. Who would have thought? So, red zone events. So good to see this area being utilised and activated. It was a mountain bike race in there recently. And moving on to the next slide, Christopher. Yeah, so local artist Dr. Suits and a street art organisation Watch the Space have put together an amazing 80s inspired road mural. So you'll recognise these colours if you remember 80s videos. Music videos, or you have an interest in professional cycling teams from the 1980s. They wore colours like this. That's quite a unique thing. So that's not far from Denell Park in the red zone, just down the road from where I used to live. Hey, James. And so, yeah, that's all. Any questions at all?
Thank you. I've just asked the team to put up a picture for you, just to leave you with a nice reflection of the ANZAC fronds that you were talking about. I took that picture after the earthquakes, and it's, I think it's stunning, but there you go. So I'd love to hear that it's going to have something happen with the fronds themselves. Are there any questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your report.
You're welcome. You'll see those before the end of the financial year. So
Excellent. Very pleased.
thank you very much.
Well, invite me along because I want to see them again.
We will be.
Good. Waimaro, Fendleton Waimari Herwood Community Board, Chairperson Bridget Williams and Deputy Chair David Cartwright. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much. Tēnā koutou katoa. So, yep, Bridget Williams and obviously David Cartwright here is Deputy. Here we go. Nice. So here are some of the decisions that we've made recently. So we have 5 decisions being made under discretionary response fund allocations, approved a process for staff delegation for YDF grants under $350, and also the approved new road name for 30 Merrion Street, Graham Cooper Lane. So this was a really wonderful experience where some of the family came to present around the history of the site, and it was just a great example of learning obviously about the history, but also giving space for the community to share the connection that they have to that space. And then here we have so progress on what's going on. So old caretaker's house at Burnside Park, the demolition is completed, which is fantastic. So going forward, the plan to remove the fencing and overgrown shrubbery and to return to park space, and there has already been a number of residents who have contacted us to thank us for getting this work done, so this is a wonderful one. And then progress on the community board plans priority. So we have the big belly bins. This is very exciting to see our big belly bins being installed. The board contributed funding from its DRF to have bins installed in Aberley Park, Bishopdale Park, Burnside Park and Avonhead Park. And we also have the Avonhead Russley Safety Initiative. So this is a working party made up of the Fendleton Waimari Herwood community board members and governance staff, Neighbourhood Support Canterbury, Christchurch North Community Patrol, New Zealand Police and MP Sarah Pallett, all working together to putting out an information booklet on keeping yourself, your property and your community safe in the Avonhead Russley area over the next month. They will also be conducting an initial survey to check in with the community on the criminal and unsociable activity, and looking for ways to support bringing the community together to respond to this. So this project is hopefully going to be a pilot of a partnership approach and working with other communities across the board area. And we also have the Elmwood Park Bowling Club. They have applied for the council to the council for permission to demolish their old earthquake-damaged club rooms and replace it with a new single-storey building that better meets their club's needs. The building is slightly wider than the existing building footprint, but it is single-storied rather than double-storied. It includes club rooms with kitchen and bar facilities, toilets and an administration area, and the bowling club is rebuilding in the same location. They have a licence to occupy the land that dates back to 1949 when the council and the Elmwood Park Bowling Club purchased the property. So resource consent has already been issued for this building that covers the design, shape, colour and height of the building and the facilities inside. And lastly, we have the community project's miniature ANZAC display. So this year, the Fendleton Waimari Herwood governance staff supported Jeff and Joe Cotton to help put their ANZAC Day display of miniatures at All Souls Church in Maryvale. Almost 400 people came through on the day, and the comments back from the attendees were overwhelmingly positive, saying how good it was for all ages, all levels of understanding. how much it meant and how it stimulated interest and how it was really appreciated by those who had direct connections to ANZACs. And we will be looking to continue partnering with them for this, for the next year, and how we can make it even bigger and better, even though it's for miniatures. Cool. So that's us, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you. That was quite interesting. I hadn't seen that miniatures display before, so that's very good. Are there any questions? Sam?
Probably just a really quick comment. I'm always nervous when we have working groups and things like that, but the one around the safety initiative in Avonhead is working really, really well, and it's cost the council very little in terms of the output we're getting. So it's a great model that I think we'll be able to demonstrate in time real value for the city that we can replicate. So it's a really good one that the team have led.
Yeah, in many respects it's like the safer Christchurch model, but at a demonstrably local level, which is great. And
Just following on from that, because I think it's really, that's a fantastic initiative. So is that the board leading that and they're bringing people together, or is it being led by somebody else?
I mean, it's sort of collaborative leadership, but it's definitely something that's come through neighbourhood support. And then we're all sort of covering our own little patch as to how we bring it together. So yeah, it's a great example of collaboration, and we've been meeting every second week, I believe, coming together to see updates. And so yeah, the next stage is a booklet that's going out to residents, and then following that, probably a public meeting or something of the like where we can hear residents' feedback.
That's terrific. It would be great to have a bit more information, maybe through when you have the combined chairs meetings, just to share that model. I think it's great. Thank you.
yeah, I wondered also whether, when the booklet's done, whether that could be shared through the Christchurch Safer Communities Partnership.
We can do that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well done. Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one is Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board, Chair Mike Mora.
Good morning, team. Thank you, Leanne and councillors. Apology from my deputy, Helen Broughton, who can't be with us today. So
She was here yesterday.
Sorry?
She was here yesterday.
Yes, I understand that you had some good submissions from our area yesterday, so, and our board. So that's and I was really pleased to see the interest being taken in the presentation of those submissions. But anyway, we're here today. The part A is the old Halswell Library, which is a real asset and gem in our community. So we're very, very pleased that the staff are supporting the retention of that facility and to make it available in perpetuity, really, for the Halswell community. So we're really pleased about that. And we've also got the accessible recreation project in Halswell, and that's been put together by it's a partnership with Child and Youth Friendly Christchurch, which is a bit like SIFS, but it's a different organisation altogether, and that's to provide accessible play equipment for people of all ages and disabilities as well, which is really, really good. So that's going to be an asset to the whole area of Christchurch. People will come from far and wide to enjoy that facility. And the total cost is $45,000, and the Child and Youth Friendly organisation have come up with $33,000, and the board is funding the shortfall of just over 11,000. So that's something. And the conga drums, I'm just wondering how I'm going to play them, because there's going to be a fair bit of running between one drum and the other. So it's I'll give it a go anyway. I'm looking forward to that. If anybody wants to come down with some additional music to join me, that'd be great. Get Active Harrington Park. This is a pilot project with the governance team and in partnership with Epic Sports, and the project Oak Development in the Riccarton Baptist Church, Community Church. So that's something it's on every Friday for 6 weeks, and it's catering for 3 to 13-year-olds free. So that's been, you know, well attended and well received, isn't it, so far? So that's something that we're really, really pleased of, keeping young people active. And Waikura Park. So I know you've had deputations and submissions on that issue, but I'm just really pleased with the way our community board staff are working with the community, and there's a range of other players in this development, which includes rangers and community volunteers, Maori wardens, and the police with the SIP-TED, and we're in the process of obtaining a building, aren't we? Refurbishing a building in that area. It was the old Plunkett building, for one of our community groups is going to take it over for a sort of a youth hangout. So that's going to be a good asset to that area as well. So we're really looking forward to that. And as you've probably heard in the submissions, that there is a renewal plan for the park to be completed in 2026. And we're just pleading that be brought forward if we can, because it's in a strategic location, but it's run down. And other than that, our board have been busy with submissions, and just like to thank our staff as well. They meet with our submissions committee, get the feeling of what we want in our submissions, and then staff write them up in draft form, and it's been a real good team effort. So just like to thank staff for that. And it's really great to see the work every time we go up and down Waterloo Road, to see the work happening on our new Southwest Leisure Centre, Library and Service Centre, isn't it, Brother Jimmy? Lovely to see that. Lovely to see that work going on. And I know it's been touched on before, but we've had joint meetings with our Fennelton, Harewood, Fennelton Waimaori Community Board as well, just yesterday, about the craft study. So, and we're going to be having another meeting with them as well about that, and we're going to have a meeting with them about the Northwest Arc as well. So does that makes sense to have two community boards coming together when it's a joint cross-boundary issues. So that's it from us in the southwest of Christchurch.
Excellent, thank you. Excellent presentation. Do I have any questions for Mike? Jimmy.
Yeah, only one question, particularly regarding to the Waikura Park, the skateboard, because at the moment they have 3 different, make submission. I just want to know, probably because the first year is 20K for planning and the design. However, at the moment, I understand the view still slightly different, whether what kind of size,
Well, we haven't had any design, and that's what hoping that this process now will bring forward some concepts on design and what's needed in that area of the skate park. And one of the things that I was going to suggest, but I haven't yet, but it's been done before, where we invite young people on a weekend and have a sausage sizzle barbecue going, and have somebody that's got expertise in designing skate parks to talk with the young people and get some, all people actually don't have to be young to enjoy those facilities. Go to Washington Way and see parents and grandparents, and everybody's there. So that's what we're hoping will happen, and get something sorted out for that area. It'd be really, really good.
Anne?
It's more of a comment actually. Child Friendly Cities is really a worldwide organisation that really aims to put a child at the centre of decision making in cities. So they've been very keen to lead this to provide for families who may have disabled children and able-bodied children, but have to drive kilometres to try and find a play area where all of their family can be catered for. So this has been a lot of terrific work, and really appreciated the support from the community board for this.
Thank you.
It looked like a great partnership.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mike. That's much appreciated. So I will now move that we receive the monthly report from the community boards, seconded by Sarah. Yanni?
2 additional resolutions, which I've sent through.
I've seen those resolutions, and I'm going to rule them out of order. And the reason I'm ruling them out of order is because the council doesn't have enough information to make the decision, funding process options, costs, benefits, implications, in order for the council to comply with its decision-making obligations in the Local Government Act. And the council is currently considering these matters in its long-term plan. So I'm ruling it out of order. So on that basis, I will put the motion.
I'd like to speak to the...
Yanni?
Yeah, thank you. Just to pick up on the huge frustration with the Richardson Terrace issue that was raised by our local community board. In 2018, the board asked for a landscape plan along the Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton River for this stretch, because we were aware that Kiwi Rail were going to do a bridge replacement, we were aware that council was going to do land drainage, and we were aware that the council was also looking at major cycleways going through this vicinity. So that was in 2018. Sadly, we still have no comprehensive plan for the area, but what we've seen is a whole bunch of individual projects that don't talk to each other being done in isolation, which is costing us a fortune. The opportunity to actually get some cost savings by improving a flooding and a safety issue to encourage more pedestrians and safer cycling through this area makes so much sense. It's really hard to understand why this cannot be done. The reality is that the board, even when we knew that the Kiwi Rail Bridge replacement program was going on in October, asked for a landscape plan to be developed. We got the advice 2 days back. We got the advice back within 2 days of that project supposed to be concluded at the end of April. We got it on the 28th of April for a project that was supposed to finish on the 30th of April, missing out on the opportunity to get that done. It seems crazy, but that project was actually extended, so we still have an opportunity while Fulton Hogan's on site to think about cost savings and synergy and get the work done. There is money on budget for the MCR. It is in forward years. There has been a route selection presentation given to the Spraydon Cashmere board that shows that this area is the area where the cycleway is going. I'll hold it up so everyone can see. So staff have already done some work on this. What is so hard about actually getting a plan in place and doing it at the same time? I completely feel that the local residents have been incredibly frustrated at our slow progress and the inability of council to do things in a timely manner together with a community that has desperately called out for it. I've sent you a letter from a local GP who has also written in November last year. This shouldn't be this hard. There are simple solutions that could be put in place by working together, and I cannot understand the reluctance to actually get some solutions to this issue. So, I'll support the reports that are coming through, but I think council needs to learn from this and try and save money and do things in a better way.
I'm just going to express a degree of frustration with using the community board reports as a mechanism for raising an individual issue in relation to one community board. There is a memo coming out about the project that Councillor Johansson has raised in the very near future, and the community board is going to be working very closely with the local community to find solutions to the problem. I have read the GP letter, and it does indicate to me that there's a significant issue that needs to be addressed before winter really takes its toll on this particular area. So I'm appreciative of issues being raised, but I do object to the very good work of our community boards and the process that they've agreed to enable this to be used in this way. But on that basis, I'll put the motion All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. The next item on the agenda is 62 Archdale's Road, Devoshell,